Hey, this is Tim, Blue Max 6. I really appreciate an opportunity to fly together today and to talk a little bit about this HondaJet 682 Tango Mike. My aviation career actually started well before most people would expect. I grew up in and around the military. I watched aviation really come to age through the late 60s and early 70s. And then I wound up joining the Army myself when I was 17 years old. It was a little bit about service. It was also about a path for some independence and a chance to be able to pay for college. Went to the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina. I studied business, but my real focus was when I was a E5 sergeant at the time, getting commissioned and serving in the regular Army as an officer, which I did. I was originally commissioned in the field artillery, and while I was in the artillery, that was going well. Commanding General of Army Aviation reached out and asked if I'd be interested in taking a little bit of a risk and going to flight school. So as a brand new captain, I'd been a captain for about an hour and a half. I went to Army Flight School down at what is now Fort Novosel in Lower Alabama. We call it the ugliest corner of Lower Alabama, where I was with all the Wunderkind, all the super smart young men and women coming out of college. And it was very, very competitive. I loved it. Half the day in the classroom, half the day in the cockpit, every single day. Came out of there flying AH-1 Cobras, was competitive enough to get a spot in the AH-64 Apache. So I did the Apache transition and continued my Army career flying Apaches. And the Army is like in everything else, exactly opposite of all the other services. In the Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, everybody learns to fly fixed wing, and then a select few go on to fly rotary wing helicopters. The Army trains everybody in helicopters, and then later on, a small number go into fixed wing, primarily for the military intelligence mission, for some VIP support, and for some aerial reconnaissance. You know, we're sitting up here right now in Harbor Springs, Michigan, and my dad and uncle both spent careers as professional pilots. They learned to fly here when this was a grass field, when they were in their teens. Their father had a real interest in aviation. He had gotten an appointment to West Point, but they found out that he had lost some of his hearing, and he got sent home. But he became a commercial artist. I didn't know him that well, but he did aviation art. And I have several of his magazine covers framed. So my father spent a career flying in the Navy off carriers. My uncle went the flight instructor path and then continued to fly fixed wing. My brother and I both went into Army aviation. He was one of the very first Apache pilots. Matter of fact, in the first unit of Apaches. But more importantly, he was the first officers selected to go directly from flight school into the Apache. It was considered such an advanced aircraft in the mid-'80s that they were only taking people that had thousands of hours of time in other aircraft before they went into the Apache. He was sort of a proof of concept to go directly from flight school to the AH-64. We were stationed together in Texas. I was out there sucking down dirt in the field artillery. He was flying the coolest attack helicopter on the planet. And I said, hey, where can I sign up for that gig? So when I talk about my journey to aviation starting very young, imagine as a little kid, your dad is flying jets and you get woken up in the middle of the night and he's gonna fly in. You go to some airfield, you can hear his voice on the radio, then you start to see a flashing light. That for a little boy is absolutely fascinating. And I was always in love and enamored with the idea of getting to go fly. Never thought I would have an opportunity to do that myself. Flying in the military was fantastic. You get an absolutely incredible flight education. You fly the best aircraft on the planet, and you get paid to do it, which is a pretty good deal. But I loved it. I found myself getting stationed at the Pentagon in a desk job. We called it flying the BMD, the Big Metal Desk. And I wound up getting a small little fixed wing, a Grumman Cheetah. I mean, it's a little 4-seat IO 320 4-stroke or four piston engine. And I just flew that thing like crazy. I would fly it all over the East Coast. I'd fly it up and down the East Coast, across the Great Lakes. But as the family grew, I very quickly outgrew that aircraft and wound up going into a Piper Cherokee 6. I imported this Cherokee 6 from Switzerland, learned a lot about importing aircraft and how to work with designated airworthiness representatives and the FAA. Got it certified in the US, and that's where I got my instrument rating. So I'm a commercial instrument helicopter pilot. I'm a professional helicopter pilot, but I'm a private pilot in airplane. So private airplane, I got my instrument add-on and then flew that for years. COVID came and I realized, hey, if I'm gonna keep business going and I'm gonna keep accelerating my business rather than just sitting home, I need a more capable platform. I moved to the Piper Malibu Mirage. Really, really incredible aircraft. So that was my first advent into flying in the flight levels, pressurization, complex aircraft, and took the training and getting into that aircraft seriously. Really loved it. Flew that for a little over 2 years, was putting 250 hours a year on it, which is crazy, but remember, we're in COVID. If I was gonna travel, I was gonna get in my plane and go. But recognized that my mission required something a little bit more substantial, and I naturally thought I would go to a single engine turboprop. That's exactly what I was looking at when some people who know this market really well, people in business with whom I'd worked for years, suggested I look at the light jet market. Very quickly, the HondaJet became compelling. I love the design. I love the innovation. I love that they continue to innovate on the platform. In the 7 years the HondaJet's been out, they're now on their 6th iteration of technology with the HondaJet announcement of the HondaJet Echelon. But on the HA420 platform, 5 variants. Honda's commitment to make retroactive refit available means that I was able to take this legacy platform, upgrade it to an APMG, and I continue to work with Honda to bring upgrades to this platform. Transition from a piston single to a twin engine jet is significant. Now keep in mind, I already had over 1,000 hours of turbine time, all in helicopters. Multi-engine turbine time in the Apache, but it's definitely not flying a multi-engine aircraft. I was not multi-engine airplane rated, so I had to go get that rating. I'm a private pilot. Any aircraft over 12,500 pounds or any turbojet aircraft require a type rating. So I'm now in a 3.5-week type rating training for the HondaJet. I took the opportunity to fly about 57 hours before I went to the type rating because I wanted to be very comfortable with the systems and I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to train. I find myself back like I was in Army flight school. I'm in a classroom half the day and now I'm in an advanced simulator half the day, working with Flight Safety International, who are really focused and on crisply executing the training required for this jet. Even though I was a private pilot, you have to fly this jet professionally. And having been a professional pilot, I really grabbed onto the opportunity to raise the game, learn more, fly much, much more precisely. I watched quite a few people on YouTube and watched their flying to see how they executed it. One of the things I liked the most was Premier One driver talked about flying VREF, your approach airspeed. He said not VREF +1 or -1, VREF. And I love that approach. And Greg's a former F-16 pilot and takes flying his Premier 1A seriously, and I really adopted that mentality going in. As far as this aircraft goes, it has been phenomenal. I've had it a little over 2 years. I've had several upgrades done by the factory. I've had brake upgrades done. I've had lighting upgrades done. This is a relatively easy jet to fly. Once you learn the systems and once you become comfortable operating and monitoring the systems, the jet does things that most other aircraft don't do. It handles heats, it handles lights. You essentially program this. But you have to understand too that this is a technologically advanced aircraft and you have to be ahead of that game. You have to understand, what have I programmed the aircraft to do? What am I expecting to do? And when I hit this button, what should and will happen? This jet has been an absolutely phenomenal platform. I've used it for business. I've used it for pleasure. I've done quite a bit of traveling with my family. If you watch any of my videos, I will talk about my daughters all the time. They love getting in the aircraft and going, and it's candidly one of the most special things that I get to do is to travel with them. My wife and I were out in Napa, California. So Napa to Richmond with one stop. So we stopped midway, gassed up and came. A flight level 430 and sipping fuel the way these engines do. It's a very, very capable airplane. But I'll also tell you, without any concern at all, we flew into the British Virgin Islands, right? So the ability to stop off and get some fuel at Fort Lauderdale and then land in Tortola to go sailing for a week was pretty nice. Yes, there's absolutely a lifestyle component for this, but I have to say that for me, this is a business tool. So you might find it interesting that like one of the very few HondaJet content creators has got the plane up for sale. One, there's some tax advantages to selling before the end of the year, and some of those laws change. But for me, I'm committed to the HondaJet platform. I will absolutely stay with the HondaJet platform. This is an opportunity, as I look at the market conditions, to find my way into an Elite S or possibly a position on an Elite 2, which I find to be really compelling iterations, next level iterations from the HondaJet that I have. What I like is it's a seamless transition. I'm already type rated. I can get in that cockpit and go. I know how the aircraft operates. I'm very aware of what the differences are in technology and what the additional capabilities are, and looking forward to trying that out. In the meantime, I do want people to follow along because I'm going to be test flying several different aircraft. And I'm working with Honda because I want to take a look at the Elite S, the Elite 2, and identify what those differences look like and highlight those through content creation so that everybody can see how Honda has innovated over a very, very short window. Listen, I appreciate you folks tuning in. I'm a big fan of Mojo Grip. Mike and I have been trying for a year now to fly together. We're going to get to fly together today. It's a little low overcast and rainy in northern Michigan, but we're going to be up in the sunshine here very quickly. I'd ask you to please follow along at BlueMax 6. I'm committed to getting more content out there quickly, but also take a look at our Instagram channel because I post almost every day on Instagram.